What would you do if your life changed overnight in the most unimaginable way? Welcome back to Shit Creek Survivors. We share real stories of getting stuck up Shit Creek, the paddles we use to get out, and hope for anyone stuck up their own Shit Creek right now. Today's guest is Scott Martin. He went from being a thriving soccer coach to fighting for his life after contracting a rare flesh-eating disease. He survived, but at a cost most of us can't even comprehend, becoming a quad amputee. But this story isn't just about survival. It's about identity, resilience, and what it takes to rebuild your life when everything you once knew is gone. Scott opens up about the darkest moments of his journey, waking up from a coma to discover the amputation had already taken place, battling depression, and how he found a way to move forward with purpose, returning to coaching and embracing fatherhood along the way. If you've ever faced a moment where you questioned everything, this conversation's for you. Let's get into it. Well, Scott, thank you so much for being here today. It's such an honor. If you would introduce yourself to our audience and let us know a little bit about your Shit Creek.
This is fantastic. And I have to tell you right off the bat, Cameron, what caught me was the title of your show, and I knew what we were going to be getting into with that. I guess bullet point it. Husband, parent, teacher, coach, author, and I'm a quad amputee. I guess that has to come into play now, and that's probably going to be the opener of talking about my Shit Creek.
Okay. Let's hear about it. Yeah, tell us.
Well, it's so intriguing to be looking back, and part of the writing process of my book, Play From Your Heart, does give the writer an opportunity to look back. So looking at my Shit Creek, as you put it, back in 1993, I was the head women's soccer coach at the University of Wisconsin at Eau Claire. I had grown up with soccer. I had been a player for quite a long time. I got into coaching right when I was a freshman in college. I went through the area getting into education. I came out of college and didn't have any playing opportunities back then in the United States, but I did start to go over to Europe and do some education there and also do some playing as a guest player and such, and doing a lot of learning. So I was at the university after my first year. We were nationally ranked. We had 2 great weeks of youth camps. I was going to be heading over to Europe once again with a group of hand-selected players, college players from across the country, to go play in 3 major tournaments there. Nike heard about me and called me and said, "Hey, we'd like you to come and speak at our regional camp outside of Chicago." Man, this is great. Here's the problem, Cam. I showed up in Adidas because that's what our university wore, man.
Yeah.
So that didn't, but it was a humorous time. We'll put it that way. It was, go over to that closet and put on whatever fits. So that was no problem. At this camp, though, there were national team players there. There were coaches from across the country. I mean, I was in heaven. Oh, and I forgot the top 100 players, high school players from across the Midwest. And here I am, a Midwest school.
Yeah.
The only thing I couldn't do would be, to push the envelope with the NCAA. I didn't want to do that.
Right.
And we were going to be playing an exhibition match that evening. And I actually had to pull myself out. I mean, I was still playing at a high level, but I had to pull myself out, and I knew something was wrong.
Okay.
I spent that evening either throwing up profusely or sweating or shivering like crazy in my dorm room. Got up the next morning and, yeah, something's bad, but I had no clue where hospitals were.
Right.
But my mom was an hour and a half away in southern Wisconsin, so I book over to mom's house. This was before cell phones, so I showed up, and I was supposed to come the next day to see her on my way back to Eau Claire. And as soon as she saw me, she said, "You get your butt over to the emergency room. Something's bad."
Okay.
Presented myself, took my temperature. It didn't run blood tests, even though my temperature was 102.8. Looking back, they probably should have.
Yeah.
Went back to her house, woke up even worse the next morning, canceled recruiting trips. Last thing I remember for a while, Cam, was in the front passenger seat with my stepfather driving and my mom looking outside, looking at us back up out of her driveway. I woke up a month later from a coma to learn that
gosh.
I had contracted group A strep with necrotizing fasciitis at the time. Some people might remember
Oh,
this.
wow.
The media love to call it and capsulize it as the flesh-eating disease. It does
Oh,
not eat flesh, people. It's just what white blood cells happen to do when you're really, 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 really sick. So yeah, there's Shit Creek, and I didn't have a paddle. I had lost 40 pounds of muscle from atrophy.
wow.
I had so many machines around, I couldn't move my head.
Mm,
Uh, yeah, no paddle whatsoever, and trying to process
yeah.
now what was I going to do
Yeah.
with, well, first of all, what time of year was it? Where did I miss Europe? Yes, I did. I knew my players were going to be coming back for preseason training. And here I was as a male, and I think this tends to be a male thing. It was, okay, let's go. Get me in
Yeah.
a wheelchair. Let me go back. I have work to do.
Yeah.
No, I looked right past, what was inside of me, in my head,
Hmm.
in my heart. Didn't want to hear about it, didn't want to deal with it. And I kept pushing that off and pushing it off.
Yeah.
And yeah, then it was, slowly it was now confront how my new life was going to be. And that took some time, Cam.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's hard. It's funny to talk to someone else who's been in a coma. And when
Mm,
you wake up, it's such an odd thing because, you know, I had no idea that I had been under that long.
yeah,
5 weeks, you were under like 4 weeks. Like you
yeah.
just don't know.
Mm-mm.
And then you just kind of wake up and people look surprised and you're like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm
Yeah.
fine, like, let's go. I share that sentiment that let's just get out of here and do it. Almost just forget about it and just keep moving.
Yeah.
But then
That's what I wanted to do.
yeah. I tried to escape the hospital once, but my legs didn't work. So I got up from the
Seriously.
hospital bed and I tried to take a step, but when your legs haven't been moving for 5 weeks, like
Yeah, it doesn't work.
yeah, they don't go forward. And then you fall like a tree. You don't
Ugh,
fall like a little kid and collapse. Like
uh,
you fall like big tree fall hard, just smack the ground. And yeah,
uh,
I know that feeling. But so the processing, I know that is it's hard to totally explain that, the idea that you're processing that your life has totally changed. Can you reflect on that at all? Do you remember that?
well, having awakened to find that I had, in order to save my life, they had to amputate my hands and parts of my feet.
Oh my gosh.
Uh, I mean,
So you woke up to that.
yeah, that's what I woke up to. First thing that ran through my mind was, there goes my playing career. I'm done. So I
Mm,
internalized that, but I did not internalize the other stuff. Or,
mm,
dude, your players are arriving in a week or two, but you're not going there. You can't. I had
yeah.
4 more months in rehab. There was
Wow.
still some time in ICU to start to gain back some of that muscle. But
Yeah.
then it was 4 months of rehab, and starting to come to realization. There were some interesting people around me, because it almost like some of them knew who was going to play good cop, who was going to play bad cop, because it was, some nurses or doctors would be, okay, basically, get your ass in here, and
Yeah.
some would be coddling, you know.
Hmm.
And I also noticed that my family and anyone that happened to come and see me, well, actually, one time my entire team came down to the hospital,
Hmm.
and I think everybody was doing a good job of faking, and nobody really wanted to talk about it. And I'm not blaming anyone, but
Yeah.
it really did come down on me. I didn't want to talk about it.
Hmm.
So maybe they were told, give him time, give him time. I don't know,
Yeah.
man. Looking back, I don't know. Uh, eh, what if I did something wrong? Uh, if other people, if I should have gone into treatment, psychologist right away. I don't know.
You didn't,
Going back,
you think that still that maybe you did something wrong?
I don't think so. I
There you
think
go.
that
Yeah.
I think, though, that because I've written this book, and I believe that I now have a responsibility to
Hmm.
share the emotions of it,
Yeah.
especially the male side of it.
Yeah.
I can easily point to, that's where something should have been done differently.
Mm,
I don't. but how do you know, what's the process? How
Yeah.
long is the process? I still had a 4-year process before I finally hit the brick wall of depression. You know,
Really.
I I went back to coaching and all I did was work. We still had a nationally ranked program. I didn't want to see that go down. It was work, work, work. That's all I did. But that's what I did to hide
Yeah.
from reality. I was
Yeah.
single at the time. I don't know if that helped or hurt. I internalized how others probably would have viewed me. So therefore, there was no way I was going to even get close to getting in a relationship because I was fearful that I'd be pulling someone into something I had no clue of what was going on. So
Right.
yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on, man. Yeah. So I don't know where I might have picked up a paddle at some time. You know, at one
Yeah.
point I finally did, but I'm not sure when really that was that I got a hold of a paddle.
Yeah. What paddle would you say that was?
I think it, because I went through 4 more years of running that national
Mhm.
rank program and finally realizing that I had just lost some of my spark, my
Mm.
ability to recruit properly, because recruiting a lot of times is going to tournaments. And I didn't like to go as a, hey, I'm here, you know, who am I supposed to see? I like to go around the fields where I wasn't expected.
Mhm.
But it was harder then because I'd have to put out my hand and shake the hand of the player and start talking to them.
Yeah.
That's kind of awkward right there.
Mm.
That's when I started seeing less and less success. You know,
Yeah.
I think the quality of the play went down. We fell out of national rankings, you know, by the end, and that's what I just decided, you know, this is it. I have to resign for the good of the program.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went ahead and that must have been a very hard thing to do, especially since you were so hyper focused on it. But
Very hard. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, was that so you were choosing your mental health in that? You're and at the same way you're saying like it's my responsibility to the program to do the best. I get that. But in a way were you saying like I need to find more help? Like was
I
that at
didn't.
all going in? No, it was
I
just pretty
didn't.
much like okay.
Within
I
a
get
two
that too.
Yeah, within a 2-month period of time, Cam, well, I'll go back to that first visit to the emergency room when they should have tested my blood. They would have found.
Yeah.
Not long after I got out of the hospital, I found attorneys, 3.5-year process to finally get us to the point of the $10 million, 2-week-long medical malpractice, which was
Mm,
2 months after I resigned. We
wow.
lost. We
I'm, s-
lost.
I'm sorry.
That's when I think I finally, I guess I whittled my own paddle.
Mm,
Let's call it that. I whittled my own paddle because I knew damn well I had to do something.
mhm.
Immediately after getting the call, I was at a friend's place, getting the call from my attorney that we had lost. I knew everyone was going to start thinking, uh-oh, what's he going to do? During the trial, Cam, I was asked not to be in the courtroom when they brought in a psychologist to talk. I'm sure it was about suicide.
Yeah.
After I went back to my apartment, I had a 3-level apartment. The bottom was the garage.
Mhm.
And I lay it out in the book too. I'm so open and honest in the book. Pulled into the garage and thinking that, you know, wouldn't be surprise me if people were thinking that I might not turn my car off when I close the garage door.
Mhm.
Or maybe I'd go buy a pistol and just commit suicide. Just
Yeah.
nah, I did the exact opposite. I went up to my 3rd level, which is where my office was, pulled out music, cat got on my shoulders, started working all night, listening to music, getting involved with it, coming up A, B, C, D. What here are my checklists and how I was doing. I had to make the pendulum of my life start going back the other way.
Mm, yeah.
Point blank. It was me. It had to be me.
Yeah.
So that's where I think I really did, you know, I got a hold of a paddle. I decided I was going to break myself down in order to build myself back up.
Mhm.
I secured a job as a free assistant out in Olympia, Washington, with a gentleman there. The agreement was, okay, I'm going to come out and work for you for free. I'm going to help you with your tactical side of your players and start preparing you for, just winning matches.
Mm-hmm.
And the agreement was I would come out there, but I knew I went on food stamps. Before I even left, though, Cam, I mean, the whole thing was clear to me. I got rid of every award, every photo with somebody famous or whatever, every trophy, every medal, everything that didn't fit in my car. Boom, I got rid of it. I said, screw
Yeah.
this. Boom. I went out, was on food stamps in a crappy apartment and working for free. But there was some release there. There was some, I felt, this is it. This is
Yeah.
it. You know, I
Like
felt
you're
like I was
moving in a direction. Like
exactly. Yeah.
that must have been, it's funny, but that makes total sense. It's relieving. You're like, at least I'm moving somewhere. You know what I mean? Even if you're like moving, but
Yeah.
the fact that you were able to go to the drawing board and kind of like assess yourself and be honest about, this is what I'm doing well and this is what I could be better at, and to be that honest in that moment is very hard to do. And I commend you for doing it, because the other part of your brain is saying, this isn't fair. This isn't like, this isn't my fault. Someone else should have caught this, and you get to that moment where you're like, nothing's going to change unless I change. And it sounds like you almost shed your past life like a skin, like a snake skin almost. You kind of said, I'm going to leave this here and I'm moving that way. Is that a fair way to say that?
No one's ever said that before, but it's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's spot on, man. That's
Yeah.
spot on. Yeah.
You had to. I've also heard, and it sounds so much like, the quote unquote advice but you actually did it. Sometimes in life, you have to cut a part of yourself off in order to grow in another place or to keep moving or to even survive. Sometimes you have to cut off a part of yourself that's no longer serving you. And it sounds like you did that in a way. You had to choose forward compared to looking back. And that's a really hard thing to do, but it's a major catalyst to the next stage. You know what I mean? It's like a major step, but we don't even, it happens so quickly. I think we don't always remember it, but there seems to be, an exact moment or period of time where you're like, I either have to, dump or get off the pot here. I've got to do something and take advantage. Now, what, besides being able to self-assess and evaluate yourself, what other paddles did you find or did you create to kind of keep that momentum going, keep that pendulum moving in the right direction?
We're going to get into something that I have no answer for, but
Okay.
I will lay it out until we get to that point. So I was at this small college. The guy came through. So we played in the fall. The next summer, there was something going on. Gonzaga University's head coach was going to be leaving. And he was good friends with this gentleman I was working with. So I got a call from, his name is John, and he said, got a deal for you, Scott. So-and-so from Gonzaga is going to name you as his assistant before he resigns. So then you are going to slide in as the interim head coach. We're talking, this is July. They couldn't do anything. Problem. At the same time, Gonzaga University hired a new athletic director, and he was not aware of the deal.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I showed up. Yeah, I showed up. Here goes my paddle, man. I'm watching it do it on the creek. Oh, I show up, and the simplest thing was the assistant coach from the previous season, the athletic director got word of. He just named her as, this is with the women's team, and he named her as the interim head coach, and I'd come in as the assistant. Okay. They'd be reopening this the next year. So I had a year to prove myself. What a terrible experience. Her only experience coaching was the previous year as an assistant at the college level. Nothing before that. I ran all the training sessions.
D1 coach.
D1. Yeah.
D1 Gonzaga.
They were in the most difficult conference in the country, Santa Clara and Portland. I was drooling with the possibility. But
Yeah.
here I am running training sessions, doing the match preparation based on what I had learned about the opponent, uh, talking to her about this is what we need to adjust and these sort of things. Come halftime, for example, she just got up and spoke. This is what we're going to do. Sometimes she got it wrong.
Yeah.
And it was just horrendous. At the end of the year, we were in San Francisco. One of the players forgot her passport at the hotel.
Mm.
The head coach got off the bus and went straight in and checked in. I had to handle, because the head coach had no clue what the hell was going on. I handled this with the player, try to keep the player calm. We got her stuff. We finally got into where we were going to be flying from, our area. And I kind of let it go on the coach. It's like,
Mhm.
how the hell can you do that? Some of the players were behind, they were kind of golf clapping. So the athletic director, he must have heard about this. He didn't say anything. He called me specifically. I said, hey, we're opening the job next week and I want you to apply for it. But at the meantime, well, I had married a doctor that had seen me when
Not
I
a
was
way.
this is kind of weird. Yeah. But here's the even stranger part, Cam. Um, the night before I was supposed to give him my thumbs up if I was going to be applying for, or I had applied, but I don't know, supposed to report something to him.
Yep.
There was a news show out of Seattle of a couple that had adopted 2 kids out of Haiti because there was a disaster. They were parentless.
Mhm.
This is what I'm talking about. I was saying before. I have no clue how to respond to this. It just happened.
Mhm.
Within a few minutes, I went upstairs to the office and started researching adoption. The next morning, I called and left a message with the athletic director. Thank God he didn't answer. I just left a message. Please remove my name from consideration. I didn't tell him what I was doing, uh, but just remove my name from consideration. Something else has come up. Well, what came up was a year and a half later, after so much struggle, 2 little kids from Romania came home. A year after
Wow.
that, a little boy from Ethiopia came home. 2 years after that, a girl from Ethiopia, a little girl from Ethiopia came home. And 2 years after that, when I made it the freaking basketball team of 5 kids.
Wow.
And here I am, a full-time dad and happy as a clam at high tide, so to speak.
Yeah.
Uh, and I was away from coaching. I was away
Mhm.
from soccer. And it was just me being a parent. If one of them was playing recreational ball and they needed some help, I'd go help. But I was
Yeah.
away from the way I looked at it was eyes on me
Mhm.
somewhat. I had my kids, they never wondered about any of my disability or anything. It
Yeah.
did give me a bit of a reprieve, so maybe I got that paddle back that was going down the stream when I was at Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Um, but that's still not the end, Cam. 20 years away from the game, and my youngest was securely in high school. One was in the military, 2 others were in college, and everybody was okay. I finally said, man, I'm itching. I got to get back. We were in a different place in Washington, and I returned to the game, but I ran into some discrimination, which, uh, boy, um,
Really? Let's
oh
talk
yeah,
about that. Yeah.
yeah, Cameron. I went from a white guy in athletics, you know, there's your ladder, go climb it. You
Yeah.
just have to prove yourself, right?
Mhm.
Great. To being labeled as disabled. And during the time when, after I resigned, I went out east and I had a couple of opportunities. I was interviewed for a couple of positions out there. And
Mhm.
one of them, I left the athletic director's office. He wasn't really enthusiastic or anything. And I went down, I stopped to get a drink of water at the water fountain. And I heard him say across the hall to his secretary, why did I just interview a guy with no hands for a head coaching position here? Jeez, that was not the only time, man. Eh,
I'm so sorry. What a terrible
well,
thing to say.
it just,
Yeah,
it
that's no
dragged me
good.
down. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there goes the paddle again, but it did kind of spur something else in me, I guess, maybe.
There you go. There's that competitive
Yeah.
spirit.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So when I finally went back 20 years later,
Hmm.
There was a big club. This is in Bellingham, Washington, and there was a club, one of these clubs that parents pay thousands of dollars for their children to play,
Right.
and with the expectation, maybe college scholarship, maybe national team, maybe professional. The
Yeah.
expectations were there. So I show up with my resume. They had this, and they had a new director of coaching. Here we go with the new people again.
Yeah.
And I showed up and I met with the guy. He never shook my hand. I made sure he was aware of my situation, my disability, and my story. He had my resume.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, you're going to be taking over the C team of 12 under 12s. And it was, well, what's the A team and what's the B team? He said, well, A team, no, that's the top team. The B team is, that's the middle level. You're going to work with the C team, the lower level. We want you to keep the parents happy. We need this income.
Okay.
Talk about pissing me off. But
Yeah.
I had watched the 2 days of tryouts, and when I saw who my kids were, I said, oh, I see what the other coaches bypassed. My kids were
Mm.
smaller. They tended to lack confidence in a tryout situation.
Mm.
But I knew
Yeah.
that there was some quality here.
Yeah.
So this was in May. We started training in May for a summer full of tournaments. We had 5 tournaments. And I knew right off the bat, okay, boom, I need to work on their confidence and
Hmm.
also team building, which is what I always did, tactical side, because these kids, I didn't really have to work on technical. They were good.
Yeah.
So we developed them as a team and that confidence thing. So it just so happened, maybe it was my time as a father. Maybe it was my time away from the game for so long. I'm still paying attention to the game, and I had my theories, and I had changed them. I'd still had been doing some learning,
Hmm.
and it was my total focus. I was free now. I was noticing the fog, as I described it, that I had for so many years after all of this, the depression really
Yeah.
was basically gone, and I was starting to return to me being my cocky self
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
working with these kids. And I think you're going to see where this is going a bit. 5 tournaments. First tournament, won our first match. I knew that I needed these kids were there's they kind of went past cocky to being arrogant. Like,
Yeah.
okay, man, all right, I know exactly what to do. Let them get their butts kicked. Exactly was what happened. I don't
Yeah.
remember. It's in the book. And by the way, folks, if you're not a soccer person, it's fine. I take care of this. I work with somebody on making sure that it's not just overwhelming soccer information. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, so we made it out of our group, went into the playoffs the first tournament. Second tournament, I think we made it to the semifinal. Tournaments 3, 4, and 5, we made it to the final.
Uh-huh.
During that time, I had approached the A team and the B team coaches and asked them if they'd like to scrimmage us on a weekly basis to help both teams. A team, nah, he blew it off. He could have lost a lot. He was kind of a arrogant SOB anyway. Jose was a cool guy. He had the B team, and it was like we got into scrimmaging every Wednesday. And by the time as the summer went, we ended up beating them. So I
Oh,
knew
nice.
we were good, man. We had it, but we lost these 3 finals. We
Hmm.
lost every championship match that we were in. So end of the summer, before we got into an 18 match state league season, we were expected for the club to hold individual meetings. It would be evaluations, players play during the summer.
Okay.
Parents were there, one-on-one with the parents.
Yeah.
And last question I asked every single kid, how did it feel to last, especially that lose at last, that last final?
Mm.
And every one of them looked me straight in the eye. I swear, Cameron, they were pissed. They did not like that. I knew right then. All 17 of them said the same thing. I could tell they were mad. You are not lacking in confidence if you're mad about something.
Right.
If you're lacking confidence, it's going to, well, it's okay, and just kind of look down. No, I knew I had something.
Yeah.
Knew I had something with where we were going to be heading into that state league season. So I was
Yeah.
back. those kids were involved. I mean, they were spot on. We're ready to go. We're
That's
ready to go for
awesome.
that season. Yeah.
That's
So,
so cool. And you beat the B team.
and we beat
The
the
A
B
team didn't
team.
want any.
Exactly. Exactly.
They didn't
Well,
want any.
that state league season was pretty doggone special. So,
Well, I'm glad. And it's amazing what moments like that can do for you overall. You know what I
yeah. Oh,
mean?
yeah.
It's
Well,
just,
I mean, it carried us into going undefeated. I won state championship,
yeah.
18 matches, won
Oh, wow.
undefeated. So you could see where my story, what was going on with me, carried over to this group of 12-year-olds,
Yeah.
and we just, I mean, at the end of that season was when I knew, okay, now we have a book, and now it was
Hmm.
time to do the writing. Yeah. So
That's
everything came
amazing.
together. It was so amazing how life can be. And
Yeah. And
up,
over a
down.
long period of time. I mean, your story isn't about like a, 3-month incident. We're
uh,
talking about what, 30, 40 years in total?
80, 20-ish.
20-ish?
Well, to now, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been over 30 years now.
Isn't
And
that amazing?
yeah, it's just, but writing was very cathartic for me
Was it?
because I knew getting into it. First of all, you're writing in order to get picked up by a publisher. First of all, you're
Hmm.
writing to get picked up by an agent. And then you're writing for a publisher, and then you go through that whole process. Um, but it was very cathartic for me because I knew right away that part of this was I wanted to uh, help the disabled community. So
Yeah.
I was writing for that because I had become disabled and I had eventually accepted being part of the disabled community. I
Hmm.
thought that's where the book was going to go in two different ways, the disabled community and the soccer community. I thought, okay, going into this. So when we were picked up by my publisher, and we went through all the rewrites and all the edits and everything. It was still all right. We're going to go after these two when we went into the marketing phase. Once I
Hmm.
get into marketing phase, it's something totally different.
Really?
Yeah, over 90% of my podcasts that I've been on, I've done over 25, and I have another 30 to go. Over 90% of them, Cameron, are all on the inspirational side, on
Hmm.
the aspect of how I now tag the book as this is a positive story in negative times.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's being picked up and played in that arena. You know,
That's awesome.
Shit Creek Survivors, you're all about getting over stuff. And that's what's really, this is how the book is being accepted and being looked upon. And
That's amazing. That means people are hurting and they're looking for help, you know?
exactly. Yeah, especially
And
nowadays.
and that's inspiring that enough people are moving in that direction, you know? Because a lot of times I think we just try to blow off self-growth and just, when you're 18, you're an adult or something like that, but it turns out life is just a continuous period of growth. And growth involves breaking and building and breaking and building, and it doesn't feel good all the time.
Hmm.
Um, and man, can you speak to that? But the ability to have gone through what you went through and then that was like 28 years later when you got to coach that team of kids. And like the fact that your life went in the direction of having these beautiful children that you guys adopted, and that built skills inside of you that led to being a better coach, even like that's amazing. You know what I mean? You can't write those stories or make them up. Like
Yeah.
that's, that's definitely in my mind written from above, if that's
It's
okay
almost
for me
like
to say.
we don't know where we are until we're
Hmm.
past it and we can look backwards. And then it makes sense on how those pieces fit together or how they
Yeah.
lined up as dominoes
Hmm.
when at certain times when we tip those dominoes and how
Yeah.
we play off of all of that and how everything fits.
Because when you're going through it, it's hard to understand, especially
Oh
the
yeah.
very painful parts. It feels very personal. It feels very, why is this happening to me?
Mm.
And what's even crazier is like, I cursed being shot for the longest time. And now I know that without being shot, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And I feel
See?
pretty good about what who I am today, which is pretty amazing because I thought for a long time that I would hate myself and that I was a failure and that, what had I done with myself with the alcohol and look at me, I'm an alcoholic and, what
Mm,
are these people thinking about me to fast forward 10 years and now I'm able to help people in that situation. Like you can turn your worst moment almost into a superpower,
mhm,
and you're right. As when you're in it, you can't understand it, but as you get a little distance and time helps, time definitely
time
helps. So you hate for that
time
to be
does.
the thing because time takes forever to pass. But when you get some time under your belt and then you look back, you're allowed to be, I was able to be a lot kinder to
Mm,
myself. Like, because when I was going through it, it was all about what's wrong with you, get yourself together, get up, move, you should be doing more. This isn't enough, that sort of stuff. And you have to go through a process where you're like, well, maybe I should be a little bit kinder to myself, because if I keep telling myself that I'm a bag of trash, like eventually I'm going to believe it. And so you have to kind
yes.
of rewrite that narrative, be like, no, I have worth. This is my life. It's not over. I can take another
Mhm,
step and just keep moving in a direction. And lots of times we don't know what to do besides this isn't it, you
mhm.
know. Um, when it comes to addiction, you know it's not the right thing to do, but sometimes it's distracting you from the thing that's really bothering you. So it's tough to like step up to the plate and say, I need to make a change. You usually know you do, but we're waiting for the perfect time. Um, and sometimes that perfect time comes with a full collapse. And I'm talking about like, with addiction and alcohol and that sort of stuff. You don't usually get sober until basically you're in trouble. And unfortunately that's the way it works. But you can turn it around and you can get back up and keep pushing yourself. And yeah, anyways, not to get too far off on
No, no,
that,
no, I
but
think you're on you and I, as we were talking in the cool green room, before, and we were sharing about what we reached so many similar conclusions about
mhm,
life, and I think that we're also on the same sort of path with understanding that we now maybe we did come to a conclusion that we have a responsibility. I don't know if that was pressed onto us and we accepted it, or we brought it on ourselves and
mhm,
we knew it was coming, and therefore, since we're a part of it, I don't know, man. This is one of those times where it's Twilight Zone.
yeah,
Do 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 do. What? eh, The
yeah,
human
and
spirit, the human intelligence or lack thereof, how one thing can lead to another and to another and the final where we are now.
yeah, and once you crack the door on that magic, it actually, like, it keeps happening. You're like, "What is going on here?" I'm not gonna question it. I love I'm just gonna go for the ride, but this is better than I could have dreamed of, you know? Um, and things start lining up that you're like, there's gotta be something organizing this somehow. How did I meet these people? How did I, get to this situation? How did I grow this way? It's
That
funny.
was part of my writing process, Cam. There were times 2 o'clock in the morning, boom, what the hell? Where I don't have these arms on. I might have to slide my arms on, or I might have to leave a note someplace, or actually go in and I learned to just write down something that would remind me to add certain something,
Yeah.
sometimes a quote or a storyline in to start taking the story in a certain direction. It was how to do it. So
Yeah.
those are the things. Who the heck set this up? Where did that come from? I
Yeah.
had no clue. It's the same with adopting my kids. I had no clue where they came from. I left soccer and I ended up doing that. I don't know why, but where I am right now, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Very cool. Not pretty cool. Very
Yeah.
freaking cool. You're a
Yeah.
badass, sir. And I
Thank
don't think
you.
you give yourself enough credit. And that's probably good because we got to be humble about what's going on and on a daily basis keep moving in the direction. But if you need a reminder, you're kicking butt, sir, and taking
Thank you.
names. So you keep doing what you're doing. What would you say to someone who might be stuck in their own shit creek right now, who's feeling hopeless? Because I know we've both
Mm,
sat in that season, and you mentioned a little bit about depression earlier. Depression was a
mhm,
big thing for me too, and I sat there in it for a very long time. I thought it belonged to me. It's the way I was supposed to feel. And when
mhm.
you're sitting there, that's it's hard to get up. So, since you got out of the creek, what's something you would say to that person who might be stuck still?
Hmm. First of all, I came to understand, it took me a while. Depression, I believe, is chemical.
Mm,
Um, I would say to someone, trust yourself. Throughout the time, that long period of time, sliding into the rabbit hole of depression and being mired in it for so long, I
yeah.
didn't, those were the times too that I didn't trust myself. I
Mm,
didn't trust myself with leading a national rank program. I didn't trust myself to recruit properly. I didn't trust myself to take care of myself.
mm,
Okay. And I think that that's what I would go in and talk to people about is trust yourself. Just,
mhm.
and also the time aspect. Maybe trust yourself over time because it's going to take time.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
pill. There's no pill
I wish there
away.
was. There just
Yeah.
isn't.
Don't we?
And you don't learn if you take a pill, "Oh, I feel bad, I
True.
take a pill."
True.
Like, it's amazing, like, if you start figuring out when you're on the journey, you're like, "I'm learning a lot, and I seem to be growing a lot. What else is here?"
Hmm.
And maybe this didn't happen. There's moments where you can be like, "Maybe this didn't happen to me, but maybe I'm supposed to do something with it." You talked about just earlier, like, maybe that we knew that this is something that isn't even for us. It's something we're supposed to get through and then share so that other people receive kind of the message from it,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, you don't become strong by going through soft things, you
No. No. No.
you got to go through it and do your best. It's the whole classic Rocky thing. It's not about how many times you can hit, it's about how many times can you get hit and still stand back up. And sir,
Yeah.
that's what you do on a daily basis, and I'm
Uh,
so honored to have you on here. This is such a great story and so good for so many people to hear. um I mean, just truly an honor, Scott. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Cam.
Man, what an incredible story. Scott's journey is a powerful reminder that even in life's darkest moments, there's still a path forward, one built on resilience, self reflection, and purpose. Losing everything didn't define him. What he chose to do next did. If this episode spoke to you, take a second to reflect. What's one challenge in your life that's shaping you right now? And more importantly, how are you choosing to respond to it? If you got any value from this conversation, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might needs to hear it. And as always, if you're in your own shit creek right now, keep paddling. We'll see you on the next one.